Okay, so let's get back here to the solutions that some of your colleagues did. So as I told you before, we don't have enough time to implement something with code. So I think that the best alternative we have is to take a look at possible solutions to the text that we have been working on today. Let me check something. Okay. So here I downloaded 3 projects. We can, first of all, take a look at the README to know how the implementation was done. And also from here, you can get an idea of what the README is expected to have. So here he has the server side. In the server side, he provides the information for each endpoint by clearly specifying the HTTP method. That was the one that we wrote previously on the document. So for instance, this is a post that is done for the login. There is the logout. He also specified for each endpoint if it requested parameters or if he had to pass something in the body of the request, and also the expected response from that API. So similar to what we have already identified, he had like the top 3 to get the top 3 scores. He has also the method to submit a new riddle. He submits the new riddle obviously with the post, and he does to this specific URL. He has another one to get all the riddles, to get a specific riddle, that is a riddle with a given ID. He has a different one to get all my riddles, the ones that I have created as an author, and to get the answers for a specific riddle. Okay, by specifying directly on the URL the ID of the riddle he's trying to get the answers from. So this is pretty simple. Concerning the design of the API, somehow if you observe this one, you can see that it usually comes that here you set like the entity or the table you are getting the things from, and then you add like a describer saying what that API is doing. Okay, this is not mandatory. Of course, you are free to choose whatever URL you want for the API. But as a good practice and also as a way to better understand what you are getting from the backend, this kind of convention might be helpful to set what are you referring to and what are you getting from. What are you getting from that resource? So here you specify the resource, and here what you are getting from. Okay. Okay, so as the database tables, he also, of course, created the user one that we also identified this one with ID, username, the points that maybe we forgot this one. I don't know. Yeah, maybe we forgot to add the points attribute. But in this case, he decided to add this profile image that was not required, but well, for some reason he wanted to represent this one. And the hash and the salt concern the passport and the authentication functionalities. In the riddle, I think it is basically the same as ours. It has the question, the response, the first hint, the second one. He has a Boolean value to represent if the user found the solution or if he didn't. And difficulty created. For instance, this solution found, in our case, was the status, no? That we set as open and close. And here, instead of calling this status, he decided to call it solution found, that anyway has 2 possible values. like open and close, and based on this, he can determine if the riddle is open or closed. So it's basically the same, but obviously it has different names. Here we have the association between the user and the with the user for the author, and finally we have the answer. That the answer is, as we did before, the one that enables us to associate a user with a riddle ID. It has the answer, it has this winner attribute that what represents was if the user found the correct answer or not, and he used this one, the created at, because for sure this one is required to see if the user already spent all the time he had available to find the solution, or if he still has time. So for doing that computation between the time he had available and the time he had used, it is mandatory to represent this information. So basically we were able to arrive to something very similar to what he did. Then after that, on the client side, of course, we will see the client application, but you must describe like the routes in which you structure your application. It's like basically just of the URL and the explanation of what goes there, and then the React components. This server-side information is very, let's say, it depends on how each one of you decided to design the layout and the graphical interface. So it is different from the backend information that more or less all of us will arrive to the same design, like in the database. Here is the opposite, because here if you decide that you wanted to have like a navigation bar, so you will have a component, but maybe someone else that didn't found useful to add the navigation bar won't have that component. So it's fine if there are plenty of different solutions here. Or if you decided to show everything on the first screen that the user sees, maybe at that point you won't have that many routes in comparison to someone that in the first screen doesn't show anything and show everything according to the links that the user click. So this part of the front end might be very different among the different solutions. And this is the screenshot. Let's try to execute this one and see what happens. Of course, as a technical advice, before submitting the final version of your solution, if you are sure that you did everything fine and everything is working, you might do a small test that would be doing the commit, delete the repository, download again the repository, and from scratch do this, like npm install and node server, node, how is this one called? Index.js, and see if it works, If it works without doing anything, without any strange error or something like that, at that point you should be fine and you can be relaxed about the fact that what we will see works, Okay, in this case, it's npm start, but because it was an older version of React that worked with start, okay? So here is the first example of a solution. So what does it have? Okay, it has the filters to show like the open ones and the closed ones. If we deselect both of them, so nothing is shown. This seems practical. Here he has the list of all the riddles, specifying for each one like the text, well, like the question itself. He also displays here directly the difficulty, the status, and he implemented this functionality, like to show the list of all the, like to navigate through all the possible riddles, okay? As links, he has, okay, this one, that is the home, I guess. Yeah, we are at the home. And this one to show the first one, the second one, and the third one. So do you remember that on the database he had like a field for the user image? So it was for sure for implementing this kind of functionality to show like the image associated to some user. When you click on the riddle, he shows, okay, the ID, the information. Okay, after doing the login, this one changed to indicate that he has the option to log out. Maybe in this case, I would add something like something here to indicate that you are currently logged in. So something as welcome, Mark, or the username as a suggestion to this one. As you can see, when he logged in, he has several more options here. Before it was just riddles and top 3. Now he can see the ones that he owned, the riddles that he has created as an author, and he has the option to create a new one, okay? As I was saying you before, the roots on the application depend on how you design this graphical interface. So maybe a good choice or a good decision would be try to draw everything on paper before starting to implement the code, no? So that before starting to write the code, you already know how many roots are you expecting to have, how many components, how you are going to structure the application. Yeah. There is something very important for the exam, and it's to make sure to add all the possible validations, especially in these sections when you are submitting something, when you are creating something. But in your case, you don't have any form for creating a new one? Yeah, the login, and that's all? Okay, there is no such functionality as creating a new, all of them, okay. No, so you had a pretty easy one in the sense that you are not supposed to do these kind of validations, no, because sometimes when you have to submit something, you have to pay a lot of attention that all the information that the user has, that if, for instance, he tries to create something, this can't be empty, that the values are consistent, stuff like that. Ah, okay, but in your case, you don't have any form. Ah, okay. No, pretty easy. No, I was thinking that maybe you had to create a new one or something like that. Okay. Well, I don't know. What do you think of this one? Graphically, how do you find it? As you can see, it is nothing. I mean, graphically, we're not requiring to use fonts or colors or that kind of visual design. But the most important thing is to make something that is well structured and that is clear at each moment what you are trying to do. No? So here it's pretty clear that we are in the riddles, for instance. Or here it is pretty clear that what we are seeing at this moment are the riddles that belong to me and that we are seeing all of them. Or if I click here, that we are seeing just the open ones created by me. So, well, I mean, the most important thing, more than the graphical aspect of the application, that can be very simple as this one, that is very similar to a bootstrap template, is to make something that is pretty clear, that you can see, and of course that it works, no? That it doesn't break at some point. Okay, any questions on this one? Something you would like to check on this one? Okay. How many points would you give to this one as the grade, as the final grade of the course? 28? 20? 20? Oh, okay, 30, yeah. Okay, here we have a different README. Of course, he did a very long explanation on the routes that he decided to use. For instance, he just used 4, meaning that probably he's showing everything like in a single page or something like that. From the API point of view, well, it depends on how you design the application. Here in the README, one nice thing that you can add for each description is to add an example of what you are expecting to receive from each endpoint, okay? So like a sample response, such as in this case. Now, when I submit a GET, I am expecting a JSON in this format with this data. As I was saying before, with the database tables, it is basically the same as we did, user, riddle, and answer. And as the React components, he has several React components, but he has a lot of React components, no? Do you see that this solution compared to the previous one has a lot of React components? It has one for the form, one for the table, one for the... This remembers me to say that you have to try to find a balance between not doing everything into a single component, but at the same time not doing everything in 1,000 components, because then to communicate among those components becomes tricky, no? So you have to try to find the balance between not doing a lot of them, but not doing just a single one, okay? That's like the only rule that we have for the components, like the only guideline that we have for the components. So let's see this one. Okay, this is the second one. Okay, for instance, here the graphical interface is completely different from the other one. Here he decided to stick on the navigation bar the fields to authenticate, the email and the password. Here, instead of the filters, he decided to show directly on the home screen the top 3 players. And here, similar to the other one, he shows the list of the riddles. Okay, so which one do you like more between the previous one and this one? Yeah, I think the previous one, especially because the previous one was more clear about the structure of the site. No, here, I mean, you infer the things here. You can infer that you are seeing all the list of riddles, that this is the top 3, but the other one with the links here made explicit where you were at this point. This one for sure works fine because he got like the good grade, but concerning that kind of stuff, for instance, he has this number here that is 60, that somehow we can infer is the time we have available to solve this riddle. No? But it would have been nice to write 60 seconds or to make the user understand that here it refers to the available time. Okay. So I think without being authenticated here, I can't open the application, so I can't basically do nothing. So okay, so once he authenticates, here it disappears like the authentication form, and now he shows the menu. That is my riddles. You can see the current answers. What happened? Okay, I click current answers and well, I don't know, maybe in this case he did something as if there were not current answers, then it, instead of opening a new page, chose close or something like that. No, because it is not showing the, oh, I don't know. No, it seems like if this was supposed to open, but no, I don't know that functionality, how it was supposed to work. Then instead of the filters that the other one had at the left side, he decided to add this menu with open and close. And all the riddles that functionally, I mean, it works, but I think the other one was easier to use, no? And in the other one, many components were shown in the same screen. That, if it is well structured, is easier to understand for the user and also easier to implement for you, because you don't have to divide everything among different routes. And well, I think okay. Here there is the button to create a new one, but for some reason I don't get how to answer the riddle. Well, maybe because in this version of React it is not displaying something, or okay. Okay, compared to the previous one, this one, how many points would you give? 26, 25, okay. Okay, and let's finally take a look at this one pretty quickly, and boom. This one would be like the ideal for the README. If you can add something like this, like very clearly showing the possible a sample response that you get from each API. And okay, as usual in the database, we have all the same 3 tables. The React components are very different from the other ones. It depends on how each one of you decide to represent the application. And well, let's see how it looks. Qué bueno. Okay, and this is the last one. Okay, well, anyway, I mean, they are somehow different, but it is not that you have, I mean, somehow they are similar from one to the other, because at the end you have to show the list, at the end you have to show the information for each riddle. So well, in this case, well, he decided also to place here the top three. Here he had, okay, the menu with the open ones and with the closed ones. This kind of stuff, okay, please pay attention here to the last part. This kind of stuff, it's useful to add some kind of label or message trying to explain what you are expecting from the user at that moment. No? So as I was saying before, it is not that important to pay a lot of attention to the graphical design, but pay more attention to the usability of the tool. So for instance, a good test that you might want to do before submitting the task, if you have time, is ask a friend of you, take a look, obviously not a friend from this course, but someone else that doesn't know how the application works, take a look at this application that I developed, try to use it, and see if they understand more or less how it works, and if they understand without having to explain how it works, it should be fine. Okay, here, for instance, this one, just 5 more minutes and we are done, okay? Please. So this one, it has something interesting different from the others, and it is that it shows the user information. So by looking at this user information, you know that the user has already logged in. So for instance, it's something very simple that you can do or add to your application, something showing the information of the user that has already logged in. That from the code point of view, it's pretty easy, because it's just get like current user and dot username. Okay, so don't remember to add something like this. I have, okay, the open one, the closed ones, and well, he can reply to. Okay, so your answer is wrong. You still need time. Here, for instance, take a look that it triggered like the countdown. Okay, after the half of the time has passed, it shows me the first hint. And after the 75% of the time passes, he shows me the second hint. Okay, well. Nothing. Does anyone know the answer to this one? No. No, because it would have been nice to see what happens when you get like the correct answer, no? But I mean, to know what is the correct answer, we should take a look at the database, and well, I don't know how easy it's to find it there, because maybe
API check is in the code.
I don't get it.
If you go in the
Here?
API check HTTP,
Ah,
he uses maybe for
this one?
and you have like
No, because no, he added here like a random and stuff, so probably nothing. Now, of course, by taking a look at the database, it would be possible, but the problem is that the database, for sure, it has like the answer associated with the riddle, but through the ID. So we have to see what is the ID of the riddle, then see, well, okay. Let's assume that when you so, okay, this one should be. Okay. Anyway, I suppose that with the correct answer, it would have shown something like you did, or it worked, something like that. Okay, so well, I think it's all. As you can see from all of these examples, got like them, as I told you before, got like the maximum grade. So as you can observe, once again, graphically, we're not requiring something impossible. We are just requiring something pretty clear, pretty structured, and of course that it works. And so, well, take into account maybe the advices that I gave you for the final solution. Test it very well before submitting the solution. Of course, if possible, try not to submit 3 seconds before the deadline, because for sure something happens and it doesn't work, or you submit the wrong solution, or you forget something. So if possible, try to submit some days before. And well, I don't know what else to say. Then we have like the oral examination, that is basically you sit with the Professor Corno or with me, and we take a look at the functionalities. We test that everything works, and nothing very more complicated than that. Okay. Well, I don't know if.
So we don't need to prepare for the oral examination. We just go through our code and answer.
Yeah, no, because the oral examination, it's mainly to confirm that you have a well knowledge of the code or of the solution, and we want also to get the reasoning behind the solution that you reach. So no, questions are mainly about the solution. It is not supposed to be about I don't know, theoretical aspects, or we want to ask list the architecture component, that kind of stuff. No. It's basically about the solution. Okay?
Are these solutions that you saw today accessible somewhere?
No, currently they are not. I don't know why. I don't know if there is a reason not to make them public. Maybe I can ask Professor Corno if he agrees, and I can add them to the website.
So it would be interesting to see the actual implementation of the
yeah.
software.
Yeah, maybe the reason why they are not available is that they were done with a previous version of React. So maybe trying not to create the misunderstanding between what you have to do and the things that were implemented here. Maybe that's why.
Were these from last year?
No, from 2022, 2 years ago. So well, it's a different version. What do you mean? Yeah. If it doesn't work, I mean, the requisite is that it should work in order to do the examination now, because if it doesn't work, it is not possible to check that the functionalities and everything. So yeah, it is kind of a prerequisite that it works. That is why I was telling you before submitting, make sure, delete. First, when you finish, do the commit, no? Without the final tag, do the commit, and so at that point you are sure that you have a remote version of the project saved. Then clone the repository and try to execute the application like with the basic commands, npm install, npm start, and see if it works. If it works, you are fine, and at that point you can add the final tag.
No, I mean, for example, with all the functions of the Java project, one of them doesn't work, okay? At the example, for example, replan and so doesn't work.
If one of the functionalities doesn't work?
Yeah.
Okay, no, it will be penalized for that functionality that doesn't work. Anyway, okay, let's take into account that if a critical functionality doesn't work, maybe it will prevent us from seeing all the other functionalities. So at that point, it might be, it depends on the functionality that doesn't work, no? Because if the login doesn't work, there are a lot of functionalities that can't be tested because you cannot log in the application. So that one, for instance, is a critical one, like the authentication. Yeah, but the examination is designed to evaluate each functionality apart. Okay. Yeah.
You say something, we need to implement the timer. It's like, is there somewhere the explanation of how the timer works?
No. I don't know if during the lessons you didn't see the timer. No, but well, it is. No, there is no explanation on that. Maybe no, because I'm thinking that maybe that was the feature that required some difficulty or some complexity that maybe was made on purpose to make you try to figure out how to implement it. And anyway, that feature is just happening on the client side, no? At the end, you are doing everything on the client side. The timer works. Everything is implemented on the client side. Of course, when the time is over, you have to somehow communicate to the server that the time was over, no? But other than that, everything happens on the server side. But yeah, I think in that case, that might be like the difficult issue that you must find out. Okay, so are we done? Perfect. So, well,